Lewis Hamilton walked away from Barcelona's shakedown test sounding more optimistic than he had in months. After a brutal 2025 season where he finished 86 points behind Charles Leclerc, the seven-time world champion had every reason to be cautious about his Ferrari prospects. Yet there he was, speaking positively about the new car and the direction the team was heading. But while Hamilton's mood had lifted, one of Formula One's most respected technical minds was already sounding an alarm that could fundamentally undermine everything the driver is hoping to achieve in 2026. Gary Anderson, the legendary former Jordan chief designer, has spotted something troubling about Ferrari's approach to the new regulations. And it's not about the engine, the reliability, or even Hamilton's own performance. It's about something far more fundamental: Ferrari's unwillingness to commit to a clear design philosophy. In Anderson's assessment, Ferrari is sitting uncomfortably in the middle of the design spectrum, and in a year where every decision matters, that's a dangerous place to be. To understand why this matters, you need to look at what the other top teams are doing. Adrian Newey's Aston Martin represents one extreme of the design philosophy spectrum. The AMR26 is aggressively packaged, with tight side pods that Newey himself admits are more tightly packaged than anything Aston Martin has attempted before in Formula One. The car features novel solutions that haven't been tried by the team previously, from its suspension geometry to its side pod design. Newey is pursuing a very specific vision, and he's committed to it fully. Even if it doesn't work initially, his philosophy is clear and coherent. Mercedes, meanwhile, has taken a different but equally committed approach. The W17 features a high nose design with a unique front wing mounting that creates a channel underneath. This represents a deliberate choice about how to optimize the car's aerodynamic platform. Mercedes has looked at the new regulations and decided on a particular direction, then engineered everything around that decision. It's a bold interpretation of the rules, but it's unambiguous. Ferrari, according to Anderson, has done neither. Instead, the Scuderia has positioned itself somewhere in the middle, not fully committing to the aggressive approach that Newey is pursuing, nor fully embracing the radical solutions that Mercedes is exploring. When discussing the SF26 with Mark Hughes on the Race F1 podcast, Anderson explained his concern about Ferrari's wheelbase and cockpit layout decisions. The team appears to have hedged its bets, trying to balance multiple design philosophies rather than fully committing to one. This might sound like a minor technical point, but it's actually critical to understanding why Anderson is worried. In a year of massive regulation changes, teams have significant freedom in how they interpret the rules. That freedom creates opportunity, but it also creates risk. A team that commits fully to one design direction and executes it perfectly can unlock significant performance. But a team that tries to be everything to everyone, that tries to keep options open and balance different approaches, often ends up being nothing to no one. Anderson put it bluntly: Ferrari can't afford to be in the middle this year. They have to do the job because otherwise heads are going to roll. That's not hyperbole. This is a critical year for Ferrari. The team spent most of 2025 essentially abandoned by its driver lineup, with Hamilton struggling to adapt and Leclerc unable to carry the team. Ferrari recognized early that they couldn't compete with McLaren without compromising their 2026 development, so they switched focus to the new regulations as early as April. That's a massive commitment of resources and time. Consider what's at stake here. Hamilton just completed his first year at Ferrari, a driver who has won 7 world championships, who has more experience and success than almost anyone on the grid. He's not supposed to be struggling in his inaugural season, yet in 2025 he finished behind his teammate by a significant margin, and the car was fundamentally uncompetitive. That's not just a bad season, it's a crisis. For a driver of Hamilton's caliber, it raises questions about whether the Ferrari project is viable, whether the team can deliver the kind of car that allows him to compete for championships. And for Ferrari, it raises questions about whether they made the right choice in bringing in Hamilton in the first place. Now, heading into 2026, this is his real chance to prove the partnership works. Now, with 2026 offering a reset with new regulations, both Hamilton and Ferrari have a chance to prove something. But that chance only matters if the car is right. And if Anderson is correct about Ferrari being philosophically compromised, then that chance might already be slipping away. Fred Vasseur, despite signing a contract extension, is under enormous pressure. Loic Serra, the technical director, is under pressure. The entire organization is under pressure. This isn't a year where Ferrari can afford to get the design philosophy wrong. Yet that's precisely what Anderson fears might be happening. By sitting in the middle, Ferrari risks the worst of both worlds. They won't have the radical innovation that could unlock a performance advantage, and they won't have the conservative, proven approach that guarantees reliability and baseline performance. What makes this particularly frustrating is that Ferrari has historically struggled with mid-season development and design iteration. The team has a track record of making design choices early in a season and then struggling to adapt when those choices prove suboptimal. If Ferrari's fundamental design philosophy is compromised from the start, they won't have the flexibility to fix it later. They'll be stuck with a car that's decent but not exceptional. And in a competitive field that includes Mercedes, Aston Martin, Red Bull, and McLaren, decent isn't enough. The timing of Anderson's concern is particularly significant because it comes right after Barcelona, where Ferrari actually impressed many observers. The team ran the second most laps of any outfit, with only Mercedes doing more running. Hamilton set the fastest lap across all 5 days of testing. Ferrari's reliability was strong, and the car ran smoothly without major issues. On the surface, it looked like a successful week for the Scuderia, but Anderson is looking deeper than the surface. He's looking at the fundamental architecture of the car, at the decisions Ferrari made about how to package the engine, where to position the cockpit, how long to make the wheelbase. These are decisions that can't be easily changed mid-season. They're baked into the car's DNA. And according to Anderson, those decisions suggest Ferrari is trying to hedge its bets rather than commit to a clear direction. This matters enormously for Hamilton. The driver needs a car that's not just competitive, but one that plays to his strengths. Hamilton has always been at his best in cars that are planted, stable, and allow him to trust the platform. The ground effect era that just ended was problematic for him because the cars required a different driving style, one that didn't suit his natural approach. He's expressed optimism about the 2026 cars being more enjoyable, more oversteery, more slidey. But that optimism only matters if Ferrari's car actually delivers on that promise. If Ferrari's design philosophy is genuinely in the middle, compromising between different approaches, there's a real risk that the car won't excel in any particular area. It might be decent at everything, but exceptional at nothing. And in Formula 1, decent isn't enough. You need a car that's exceptional in at least some areas, that plays to your driver's strengths, that gives you a clear competitive advantage in certain conditions or situations. Anderson also noted that Ferrari brought what's believed to be an A-spec version of the car to Barcelona, a more basic aerodynamic setup. This is legitimate at this stage of testing, but it also means the real picture of Ferrari's design philosophy won't become clear until Bahrain, when the team is expected to introduce significant upgrades. That's when we'll see whether Ferrari's middle ground approach actually works, or whether Anderson's concerns prove prescient. The irony is that Ferrari has actually done a lot of things right. They switched focus to 2026 early. They've been productive in testing. They've maintained reliability. Hamilton sounds positive, but all of that could be undermined by a fundamental strategic choice about design philosophy. It's the kind of thing that doesn't show up in lap times or mileage figures, but it shows up in the competitive picture once the season actually starts. For Hamilton, this is particularly frustrating. He's already dealing with the pressure of proving himself at a new team after a difficult first season. He's dealing with the expectation that he'll deliver championships for Ferrari. He's dealing with the knowledge that his window for success is limited. The last thing he needs is a car that's philosophically compromised, that tries to be everything to everyone and ends up being nothing to no one. Anderson's concern isn't that Ferrari's car will be slow. It's that Ferrari's car might be mediocre in a year where mediocrity is punished more harshly than ever. With teams like Aston Martin pursuing radical innovation and Mercedes pursuing bold new directions, being in the middle isn't a safe strategy. It's a risky one. And for Hamilton's 2026 comeback, that risk could be the difference between success and another disappointing season. The question now is whether Ferrari will listen to these concerns and adjust course before it's too late. The team has shown it can be responsive to feedback and willing to make changes when necessary. But design philosophy isn't something you can easily change once the car is built. It's not like tweaking a wing element or adjusting suspension geometry. It's fundamental to how the car works, how it behaves, and how well it suits its drivers. The next few weeks will be crucial. Bahrain will tell us much more about whether Anderson's concerns are justified or whether Ferrari's middle ground approach actually represents smart, calculated engineering. But for now, one of the sport's most respected technical minds is worried. And when Gary Anderson worries, it's usually worth paying attention.